Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the show. It's happening behind the scenes today, so bear with us. My name is Umama Lilua, and this is the pre-iftar plug. We just completed conversation with Nurul Huda, who is amazing. Really, I don't know if you heard the last bit of the show. Absolutely amazing. She has many degrees. I can't even start getting into it, right? Lots and lots of degrees, and we spoke on all things politics in the Muslim world and current affairs. Now is the one and only Khair check, a segment that I'm always so excited for, and I know so many of the viewers are excited for. And in this segment, we talk all about humanitarian work from a youth perspective. We talk about charity, impact, and what it truly means to show up for our communities, especially during the blessed month of Ramadan. But today we're taking that conversation in a slightly different direction. Because when we talk about serving our communities, we often focus on food drives, donations, and physical aid. But one area that is just as important, especially for our generation, is mental health. Looking after the well being of our community also means checking in on people emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. So, today's Khair Check is all about understanding the link between community care and mental health, and how we as young Muslims can create spaces of compassion, support, and understanding for one another. And of course, I'm not joined alone for this segment. I'm joined by my amazing co host, Amina Chinara. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. I'm so excited for today's segment. You know, I was actually telling my mom, I was like, oh my God, there's only like one more segment after this. And I'm like, no, it's been keeping me going, you know? It's just like every Saturday, I know at 3 o'clock, I need to be at Salam Media. We're doing this thing. And it's just like I'm not this vibrant in Ramadan, but the show just brings a different side of me
You
out.
know, my family always says that I'm like a machine the entire week. I'm gonna find guests for the show. You're not
Oh, same.
helping me. You're not helping me. I'm tired. I also work for Salam Media at this point because you make me produce your shows. But it's so amazing, and we only have one left.
I know.
So, Pussy, you're listening. You best tell Uncle Fanti that we want to continue after Ramadan.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. But we have a very exciting guest with us today, but I will let you do the honors in introducing her, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, today joining us in studio, we have Apa Faatima Gattoo. She's actually a post-grad student. I'm saying Apa because she's a teacher at my school.
Yes.
So she's finishing her pracs at Lanesia Muslim School. And I'm super excited to actually have this discussion with her. You know, how I actually got to know Apa Fatima at school was she came up to me and she said, Amina, you know, you do a lot of like these events and stuff. And we kind of want to do something for the matrics because, you know, you guys are going through stress and pressure and this external pressure that everyone's putting on you. It's your last year, it's matric. And, you know, it becomes very overwhelming. And she was like, no, let's do like matric care packs and stuff. And I've never heard a teacher sort of come to us and say, you know what, we want to do this for you. Because usually you hear so many matrics have been through it, you just like another grade, you know, so we're gonna push you. And no one's like, you know, we're like, we get you, we know the stress that you're going through. So for me that really stood out, so I'm super excited to actually be talking to her about it.
As you can see, I'm a very big fan of the studio today. And from everything that I have heard already, I am so excited to have this conversation. Yesterday I went to the doctor and he said, you're doing very well on air. I was like, how do you know I'm on air? And he's like, because Amina Junad is my student. I was like, and so I love that, you know, the way that our teachers are able to see the potential that we have and be proud of what we're doing. Because
100%.
I mean, not a lot of people are sitting in air right now. You can see people that are cannot sit in there. It's extra classes, maybe supposed to be the extra classes. But we're here and we're having such amazing conversation talking about all of these great, you know, topics really. But we're gonna get right into it, inshallah.
Yes, let's go.
I'll do the first question. Is that
Go
all right?
for it.
So Apa Fatima, first, Assalamu alaikum. I didn't greet you properly. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show. My name is Umama and I host the Iftar Plug. My first question for you is that mental health has become a huge conversation among young people today. From your perspective, what are some of the biggest mental health challenges that youth are currently facing, and why do you think that this generation is feeling the pressure so deeply?
Firstly, walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So happy to be on the show with you guys and to get the opportunity to speak about mental health. It's such an important topic, especially amongst the youth. So to answer your question, what are some of the challenges that the young adults or the youth are facing? That would be the constant pressure that they are under, whether it's from an academic perspective or a personal perspective. And I feel like this actually isn't talked about enough. Um, and a lot of this pressure actually leads to like mental health disorders like anxiety, depression, self-isolation, suicidal thoughts, and that's actually just name a few of them. And young adults are actually at a very malleable or like a malleable point in their lives. They actually trying to figure out who they are and what they want out of this life, and that already is very stressful. And they tend to add to the stress by actually like over analyzing the lives that they want instead of focusing on the ones that they actually have. And matriculants especially are under a lot of academic pressure because their desire to succeed in this year is putting a lot of pressure on them. So when they make mistakes, tiny mistakes, to them it feels a lot bigger than it actually is. And this isn't to invalidate what they are going through, but rather to point out that they don't actually have the skills and the tools that they need to deal with this pressure and this stress.
Alhamdulillah, I relate to that a lot. Me being a matric student, as you mentioned earlier, I should be in extra classes. I'm actually missing physics tuition to be here right now.
Oh
So,
man, I'm sorry. I apologize.
but no, man, it's a once blue moon thing. So I'm super excited. But like Appa mentioned, it's this fear of where you overanalyze and you think like, we got a message to say university applications open. And now it's the stress of, okay, what were my marks last year? What can I apply for? And everyone's like, what are you applying for? What are you doing with your life next year? And I sat down with one of my uncles and he told me, you don't like, he said, I mean, like, don't feel bad that you don't know what you want to do. I'm asking a 17-year-old girl, what does she want to do for the rest of her life?
Yeah.
People at 40 don't know what they want to do. I don't know if there's like a midlife crisis, but I mean, it's quite difficult to navigate. So to have people like Appa to just talk about it and just explore different options and coping mechanisms and stuff like that for a matric student, I feel is like super important.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Appa, I'll move into our next question, inshallah. Sometimes people assume that mental health struggles mean someone is weak in their faith, which can make it harder to ask for help. So, how can we start shifting that narrative in our communities and create safer spaces for honest conversations?
Yeah, so actually, that is a very common thing that people say that when you're struggling mentally, that you are weak in your faith. And that actually just contributes to the stigma around mental health. And just to point out, when you are struggling mentally, it does not mean that you are weak in your faith. The only the only one who can judge your faith and your character is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if anyone says otherwise, then you know. But this misconception actually leaves individuals feeling very ashamed and it makes them not want to seek help instead of rather encouraging them to explore what is happening within them and then to like seek help, whether it's from a family member, from a friend, or whether it's to an extreme extent to a professional help. Right? And in order to shift this narrative, we as individuals need to be able to educate ourselves. We have to educate ourselves about the different types of mental health disorders, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether it's OCD, whether it's ADHD, whether you have siblings or children who are on the spectrum. We need to be more mindful of the way we speak and what we say to them. And then we need to be able to hold space for them so that they feel safe enough to open up to us to say, okay, I'm feeling a certain way, I'm feeling really down today, to be able to talk to us. And then the last thing is that religious leaders need to be able to speak about this in community settings because they hold a lot of influence over the community.
I could not agree more. It's so important for us to be aware, and it's so important for you to educate yourself. Um, just kind of tying to the previous conversation that we had, which was more on politics. We spoke about educating yourself on what's going on in the world because the world we live in, you have to know. You must
100%.
know what's going on. And now taking it from this perspective that we live in a generation where things like depression,
Yeah.
anxiety are on the rise. It's something that, you know, so many people find
Are
themselves
facing, yeah.
going through and things like that. And so not knowing how to deal with the situation, not knowing how to be in a room with a child that has ADHD, etc., etc. When we're doing example community work and there's an autistic child, you don't know how to communicate with this with the child or the person or whoever it is. These are things that are so so important that you have to, you know educate yourself on, really. But before we continue on this conversation, we will go on a quick ad break, and we will be back because we have such amazing questions for you. Cannot wait to get back.
With Ashraful Aid this Ramadan, your zakat changes lives. It feeds families facing hunger, restores dignity to those in need, and brings hope where it is needed most. From food relief to essential support, your zakah reaches communities with care, transparency, and impact. Give with confidence, give with trust. Make your zakah count this Ramadan. Give your zakah to Ashraful Aid and help change lives today.
You South African, of course. You anxious about the future. We've got you covered. Build on your wealth portfolio with Randry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange. Visit us at 151 Stephen Dlamini Road, Musgrave, Durban, or call us on 031 202 4700 for more information. Randry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities, conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities. Your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Essenwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Okay, we are back from our ad break. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to Khair Check, which is a humanitarian segment. And today we're taking it a bit of a different way. We're talking about all things mental health, and I am joined, of course, by my co-host Chinara, and by our wonderful guest, Faatima Gattoo, who has been giving us amazing insights on mental health and how to kind of deal with the struggles that many people aren't really aware of and don't know how to approach, really. We are once again, like every week, running out of time, so I'm going to speed run my next question for you, Afa, which is, in spirit of Khair Check and community care, if someone listening right now notices a friend, sibling, or classmate who may be struggling emotionally or mentally, what are some practical ways that you can show up and support them?
Okay, so for this one, I can only tell you what I've noticed in my personal experience. As individuals, like I mentioned before, we need to be able to hold that safe space. We need to be able to create that safe space in our home so that people that are close to us feel secure enough to come and speak to us about it. And then the other thing is that we often make, not often, but like sometimes you notice that people make jokes or they talk about mental health in jest. And this actually, instead of making people feel secure enough to speak about it, it actually does the opposite. And if you notice family members or friends who have confided in you or who have spoken to you, who are open about their mental health, do check-ins with them. Find out, how are you doing today? How was your day? How is the family? I think like this here, and then also to actively listen. So when they're speaking to you about something, instead of offering solutions, rather just listen. Because sometimes all people actually need is to just feel heard.
I think it's something like Abba said, we can only talk about this from experience. Um, and to me, that's what truly helps me. I can like call my friend, or I can just like message her and be like, "Girl, I need to vent," and she'll be like, "What's up?" And I'll just like physics this and bio that, and this upper this, and like
It's not the upper
why?
row that you talk about, the behind the back.
And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I just need some time to like breathe. And like you're saying, she won't say, okay, you know what, but like this is the solution for this, or because that's sometimes what you need. You don't need solutions because sometimes you know the solution, but it's just so overwhelming, and you feel like
You don't want the solution, just let me
exactly,
see. Like,
like I
allow
want you to
me.
sympathize with me.
Yes.
Not in like an attention seeking way, but like, listen, I just need to talk about it. I want to tell you about my day. I want to, just vent. And that's exactly what it is. Um, so yeah, and even like Appa mentioned, the mocking, not the mocking, the jesting of like mental health and like depression and anxiety. And you're like, okay, if I like talk about it now, it's like, okay, they're gonna think I'm like just like attention seeking, and that's what I'm saying. Like nowadays, it's become so normalized for people to say, "Oh, she just says she's got depression," and she's like, she just wants. Like it's not that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we really need to focus. And you know what? This one in my class is struggling. Like let's sit, let's have that conversation. Like even if you don't want to speak, know that I'm here for you. The day you like crashing out,
Yeah.
just know like I'm a phone call away, and
It's
that's like super important. In today's time. Um Appa, Ramadan is a time for spiritual reflection and renewal. How can young people use this month to prioritize their mental health and their spiritual growth? And what practices or habits can they incorporate in their daily routine?
Okay, so I would say that you definitely focus on building healthy habits. So instead of like doom scrolling for endless amount of hours or time, rather focus that energy. Okay, if you are going to scroll, right, focus on positive content, focus on educational content, and rather limit your time scrolling. And then that way you can build a healthy routine while at the same time you can find balance within your life. And then if anything, Ramadan teaches us that it's a month of discipline and that we are capable of a lot more than we think. Yes, you can pray your 5 times namaz on time. Yes, you can read more Quran than you think you can. And that is exactly what Ramadan is here for. But at the end of the day, Ramadan teaches us that it's a month of not being perfect, but just showing up. And then, sorry, lastly, we should definitely practice gratitude and mindfulness. I think this is something that our generation struggles with a lot. It's because of that constant comparison. Like you look at people's lives and then you think like, oh, my life should be like that. Instead of just being grateful for where you are, the position you are in, and everything that Allah is already blessing you with.
I really appreciate your answer, Alpha, because with all the conversations that we have, this is a Ramadan show, and I love tying back all of our conversations to Islam and Ramadan and us just being Muslims, um, and Ramadan becomes a time where so many people have time to reflect and look back at their experience and just to put their eyes on this. there should be a moment where you think back now in this aspect that do I treat people who have anxiety or depression, things of that sort, with grace, or do I mock them for it, or do I,
100%.
belittle them for something like that? It's definitely a moment to sit back and think about it. And it's also a moment for if you're someone that is struggling with something like this, that a lot of people expect you to just be fixed during Ramadan, and the can be experiencing the most hard, depressive episode, etc. And now you're expected to just be, hey, okay, assalamu alaikum. Today we're reading 25, paras, and you're
Yeah,
expected
it's a
to
lot.
just do this full switch around, but it's not that easy, and it's about as an outsider giving grace to someone who is struggling, and someone who's struggling to give yourself grace as well, that you're trying your best and Allah sees that you're trying to do extra for him even while struggling so much. So even though we've got so many more questions for you, Appa, time is never on our side because we talk too much on social media, and we always find ourselves, behind schedule. But that is all the questions that we have for you today. This conversation has been absolutely amazing, and I'm so jealous. I mean, I get to see you every day, and I mean, I get to conversate with you, and I'm only going to see you today. But Jazakallah so much for joining us. This conversation has been so insightful and just so lovely, really. So Jazakallah so much. That has been Abu Fatima Gattoo, who is a postgraduate student and talking all things mental health. How did you find this segment?
Like I mentioned previously, being a matric student, being able to listen to all of this and just take lesson from it, because like you're saying, we really do need to reflect. Like I myself as a student need to be like, okay, maybe there's, you know, in the beginning of the year they told us that matric is one of your harshest, like it's brutal on someone. And for you as a classmate to just be there for the next person, not even just to speak, but like, listen, I noticed you were like weak in math, so I'm gonna sit with you for like maybe 15 minutes a day, and we're gonna go through it. Or after school, I'm gonna phone you for like half an hour, and we're gonna do maths together, because we need to help each other in order to grow and in order to, like, just survive the year.
Yes.
So definitely to go back and reflect, like, am I doing this? Especially now in the month of Ramadan, we sit back and we think, like, I don't know if it's like for everyone, but for me personally, I like set the other and I was like, okay, like, sometimes I say a bit too much. Sometimes I say things that don't need to be said. And sometimes like stuff that do need to be said, I need to be like brave enough to say it.
Yes.
And like, friends are like facing things. Yeah, there's like people facing home issues, and people, like, while navigating that, they need to navigate their life through matric stress, and that is insane. So just for you to be there, like, listen, you were absent last week and here's the work for you, like,
Yeah.
simple things
Something small
that
like that.
and I think that was our common theme throughout the three segments,
Yes.
is that no matter how much of a simple action that we do, it does so much for an individual. So we said smiling at a person and just making them smile. And we're saying now, like, a simple thing like, listen, I took worksheets for you.
Yeah.
Leave alone matric, but students themselves, you find like students in grade 9 choosing subjects for grade 10.
Small babies choosing
Yes,
subjects.
and you're expected to choose subjects that are like, again, a decision that's gonna be lifelong.
Exactly.
And you're like, okay, but how am I supposed to do this? And you just feel so overwhelmed. So the takeaway from today's segment for me is basically just be there. Like, wherever you are, just be there. My uncle says that. So like, if he's listening, he's probably laughing. But wherever you are, just be there.
Yes.
You just, your friend needs, it's the simple things that make the difference, man.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more. And while you're talking and while I was talking, a main theme that was in my mind, taking it from a Khair Check perspective as well, was that, like, now we're nearing Eid, and we have so many people who are doing things like the Eid boxes and stuff like that, and especially in schools as well. And it takes back now to, we're talking about how you perceive other people and how you talk to people and things like that. That maybe your classmate is going to get an Eid box or a zakat box or something like that. That's not a moment for you to say, "Oh my God, you got an Eid!"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a moment for you to sit back and be thankful for what you have.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is a moment for you to, just reflect and also think, what can you do for other people? What can you do for people who don't have more, don't have what you have and stuff like that. So it really is a moment for us to just sit back and look back at our lives, look at what we have, and be thankful and grateful for what we have, and just say alhamdulillah. I think that's kind of a good closing note for today, is just alhamdulillah for what we have.
100%.
We spoke about mental health. If you're not struggling with something like depression, anxiety, alhamdulillah, you thank Allah, because it's something can be so brutal on you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I have so much more to say. You have so much more to say, but we have reached the end of the segment. This has been the Khair Check with myself, Umama Lua, and Amina Chunara. Jazakallah so much, and thank you for joining and being a part of this conversation. We cannot wait for next week, and we again don't know what we're going to talk about next week. So, let us know what you guys want to hear, and how to close off Khair Check. That's so sad to say.
I
but
know.
how you want us to close off Khair Check. And yeah, that has been us. We're going to go for a quick ad break, and we'll be back with the last and final segment of the show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.